Hey, welcome. Welcome to Caring with a Purpose, Earn While Helping a Loved One. Home and Community-Based Services, HCBS. State Medicaid programs offering in-home support and care. Presented by Melissa Paquin, Outreach Specialist and Advocate. Please fill out the pre-survey. I will send a link in the chat. So click on the link in the chat to begin. It's just a few questions just to see what you may know about this subject. About the Native American Disability Law Center. The Native American Disability Law Center, NADLC, or the Law Center, is a nonprofit agency serving Native Americans with disabilities in the Four Corners: Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah, providing legal services, supporting rights and advocacy for equal access, community participation, and independent living, information and referrals advocacy, legal representation, negotiation, investigation and facility monitoring, access to education and employment, and independence, prevention of abuse and neglect. And then we have a map here. Everything in color is our area of service. We assist Native Americans with disabilities living in this area. And you can always call our office if you have any questions, concerns, or need resources. We can refer you to resources. If we cannot help you, we will refer you to someone who can. What you'll gain from this presentation: learn about what HCBS programs include, services available through HCBS, and how to apply to become a paid caregiver in New Mexico and Arizona. Eligibility requirements for paid caregivers. What is HCBS? It's home and community-based services, Medicaid-funded programs for individuals with disabilities, designed for those eligible for nursing facility care but wishing to live at home. Provide non-24-hour in-home care. Services depend on the specific needs of the individual. Medicaid recipients in New Mexico or Arizona may have expanded or different options. Friends or family members may be paid caregivers. So home and community-based services, or HCBS, is through Medicaid. It's a program within Medicaid, and it provides in-home care to people they find eligible. It's not 24-hour care, but it's in-home. They provide in-home caregivers. Services available through HCBS. Personal care, that's in-home caregiving. Assistance with daily living activities such as bathing, dressing, cooking, and shopping. Skilled therapies, occupational, physical, speech and language therapy for adults 21 years and older. Environmental modifications, changes to your home to enhance safety and independence. Respite care, substitute provider to give the primary caregiver a break or in case of illness. Behavioral health services, transportation or translation services. So personal care is in-home caregiving. You may not need therapies, but they do provide that. And environmental modifications, that's a fancy way to say they'll pay a professional contractor to come into your home and install grab bars or shower bars to hold on to. Or maybe a wheelchair ramp, or maybe a wider door for your wheelchair. That is an option through this program. You may not need all of these services and you may not qualify for all these services, but they are available through this program. So, Empowering Independence, Danielle's story, that's the name of this video. And it's a video about Danielle, 24-year-old Navajo woman. And she shares her journey using HCBS, this program we are talking about. And she is advocating for accessibility. And this video can be found on the website and YouTube. So video is on our website and our YouTube, and the link is here, nativeamericandisabilitylaw.org. And it's a video about Danielle. And she uses this program, and it is very informational and uplifting. And she manages to have this program and have her own business and be an advocate for getting wheelchair accessibility in her community. It is a really uplifting story. And it's very, very feel good. So if you want to feel good, I really think it's worth your time. So reflecting on Danielle's story, she was diagnosed with partial paralysis, and she uses HCBS, this program, with her father as a paid caregiver. And she advocates for disability access and owns her own business. And here's a quote: I get to stay home. I get to be in my home where I grew up. I get to eat the food I love. I get to be comfortable in my own bed. I get to be with my pets. And that's from Danielle Tolino. And this is a picture from the video of her with her pet. And she's in her home beading. And she is living her best life. She owns her own business. She sells her beadwork, her beautiful beadwork. And she also is an advocate for wheelchair accessibility in her community. And she travels. She's been to Washington, D.C. I think that this is just an uplifting story, and it's informational, and God, if you need to watch this video, it's really great story. And it talks about this program also. And I want to thank Danielle for sharing this story. And then questions. Please reflect and ask yourself, do you, a family member or friend, currently need caregiving support or anticipate needing caregiving support in the future? Yes, I or someone I know currently needs caregiving. Yes, I or someone I know may need caregiving in the future. No, neither I nor anyone I know needs caregiving support currently. So while you're thinking about people you know, people you love, friends, family who may need caregiving now or in the future or in the past, a lot of people say, where were you when my grandpa was needing this? I'm going to share my story. I was a caregiver for many years. I started out as a family caregiver to my grandma. She had Parkinson's, and that's a progressive illness. It gets worse with time. And so I went from knowing nothing about this to having to learn new stuff all the time. It felt like, um, and one story I have is she was in physical rehabilitation, which is like physical therapy, and they were sending her home, and the physical therapist actually said, "Oh, hey, you're gonna be alone with her. Let me show you how to assist her while you're alone using an everyday item, which is a towel, if you can believe it or not." And then the physical therapist actually loaned us an equipment. I don't even remember it. I think at the time it was a wheelchair, actually. I just remember being very touched and being like, we got to return this when we're done so it can go to the next person. And oh, that's funny. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember the feeling of like, oh, wow, they're loaning us something. They don't have to be loaning us something. Um, but will return it. So I had to go from knowing nothing to, you know, learning stuff as it arose. And then after my grandma passed, I became a caregiver as a job. I worked in many different places. I started out as in-home, and then I went to group home. Then I went to a facility, and um, I didn't work in a hospital though. And I saw a lot of family members go through the same process, not knowing anything, to learning stuff, to being an expert, to um, or to not even being involved sometimes. But if I can help anyone with any kind of information, I'm happy. Um, because like I was thinking about someone who helped me in the past. And so if I can be that for anyone, then this is worth it. And I thank you for learning and being present for this. So, how to access in home services? You contact the Medicaid program or case coordinator, apply for services, and then you go through a needs assessment and care plan. And then services begin. So, you contact them, and you apply. It's a Medicaid program. It's under Medicaid, and it's called Home and Community-Based Services. But it's also in-home care. So always when you're applying or asking for services or asking for help or asking for what programs are out there, being an advocate for yourself or your loved one, it's in-home care, it's caregiving, and it's a program through Medicaid called Home and Community-Based Services that provides in-home care. Apply for Medicaid. In New Mexico, you would apply through the New Mexico Home Health Care Authority, and in Arizona, you would apply through Arizona Healthcare Cost Containment or Access. You would contact Medicaid directly or your Medicaid provider if you know them. So you might know you have Presbyterian is your Medicaid provider, and so you can contact them. And then Benefit Enrollment Center. So we provide a benefit enrollment center is available to assist adults over 50 and people with disabilities identify and applying for relevant benefit programs like LIHEAP, SNAP, Medicaid, and other benefits. Call Valerie Johnson at 505-635-5573 or contact the Native American Disability Office and ask for benefits enrollment center. And you can see what benefits you may be eligible for. Valerie will contact you and over the phone and get some information, and she will contact you with what programs you are available to you or you are eligible for. If you are denied services, file an appeal through Medicaid. Explore other available programs. So if you're denied, you can file appeal through the program. But there's other available programs. In New Mexico, there's Aging and Disability Resources. And in Arizona, there's your County Area Agency on Aging. So if you're denied, there's other programs. In-home care programs by state. So these are other programs that are similar and they are through Medicaid. In New Mexico, there's the program we're speaking about, HCBS, and 4 other programs. In Arizona, there's a program we are speaking about now, HCBS, and 3 other programs. And eligibility varies depending on the specific Medicaid program. So when you apply, if you are found eligible for these other programs, they will have you apply to these other programs. These other programs are similar, but they may vary in the type of disability or the type of care, and you may be eligible for them. But they'll let you know if you are. And they're also all through Medicaid. And HCBS services, so there's other kinds of services. There's agency-based, and that's caregivers are provided by a home care agency. There's self-directed. You manage and hire the caregiver with HCBS support. Both allow family or friend to be a paid caregiver. So an agency-based, think when you think agency, think another company, and they are a company that's already providing caregivers to other people. It's already a business, agency business. And then when you think self-directed, think self, the person receiving the care, and they manage it with the program case manager or care coordinator. And they just have a little more paperwork, and it's not an already business. It's just you go through the program and they hire one caregiver to be the caregiver. With agency base, you might have a team of caregivers that can come and fill in right away, but with the self-directed, you might only have one or two caregivers. And they can cover for each other, but you just won't have the amount of options, maybe. But you'll have a little more say, a little more leadership in the process. So, but both will listen to you definitely and take your needs into consideration. Key terms to know: Medicaid, state and federal health coverage for low-income individuals, including people with disabilities. Home and community-based services, Medicaid-funded care at home instead of nursing facility. And a case coordinator, that's a professional who creates a care plan, coordinates services, and supports caregivers. So a case coordinator is the person that helps you through the program. They're the person that will have your whole case. They'll have you from applying all the way to they're the person you contact, and they're the person who manages the whole case. How do you apply to be a paid caregiver through HCBS? So through agency-based, you work through a licensed home care agency that assigns caregivers. Through self-directed, you work through the HCBS program. A case coordinator assigns the caregivers. Complete the application. Complete training, documentation, and job requirements. The process may take 2 to 4 weeks to apply, interview, and wait on background checks to return. In New Mexico, 120 days, agency-based before you can be self-directed. So agency-based, you would apply through the home care agency, the company of caregivers. And they're an separate company that's already giving caregivers to other people. And then self-directed is through the program, the case manager would assign caregivers. And then you complete the application. It would be like any other application for a job. And it's just like any other job. You have trainings, orientations. When you first start, you have a boss, you have paperwork, you have job requirements. And then you do have a possibility of getting an interview and background check that may take the process to be a little longer, but also you can be a friend or family member. But just because you are a friend or family member doesn't mean you're guaranteed. You might not meet the requirements, which we'll talk about later. Understanding the care plan. So created after the needs assessment. It outlines caregiving duties and schedule, and it defines approved paid caregiver hours. Training is provided after hire. So the care plan is a plan to care for the individual. They have individual needs. Each person is different. And so this is a plan how to care for them. And it'll find how many hours they might need care. It'll find what kind of care they need and what kind of training that care needs. And it's kind of like your job to follow this, you know? And so paid caregiver eligibility for HCBS in New Mexico, you may need a background check, training, you may need ongoing background checks, and a driver's license for mileage reimbursement. So they may pay you per mile for gas. And then in Arizona, you may need a background check and you may need a CPR and first aid and a food handler certificate. They provided training and a driver's license for mileage reimbursement. Trainings may be free or at low cost. So just like any job, you get a job, you go and you get orientation, you get training on the job. They're gonna provide that, definitely. And then the other trainings like CPR or first aid or food handler certificate, they may provide that. These are 1 day classes. You show up, you take the class, you take the test, which is kind of easy if you're paying attention. And sometimes you can retake the test. There's a limit though. And then you get your certificate that same day and you walk out of there with your CPR. And the cool thing is the CPR and first aid, if they don't provide it to you, the class, you can get that class in a lot of community places. Eat at the hospital, the medical center. I even saw one that you could get it at the fire station. So if that's what you wanted, with some firemen, it could be free through your employer or it could be at a low cost. And then same with driver's license, they may require a driver's license. If you're driving on the job and if you want to get paid mileage or gas. If you don't have a driver's license, you may be able to work with them and say, I don't have a driver's license and I plan on never driving this person, and this person doesn't need me to drive them. They may work with you on that. The background check that's the one they do not budge on. If you are found with something that they don't approve of already, then they can't hire you. It just depends. Getting paid as a caregiver through HCBS. So it's an agency-based payments process by the home care agency. Self-directed payments coordinated by the case coordinator or HCBS. Payments frequency. Weekly, biweekly, or monthly. Payment method, direct deposit, check, track hours, and submit timesheets. Benefits may vary and are not guaranteed. So you get paid through your employer. It's usually bi-weekly and it's usually direct deposit. People have been stepping away from checks. And then you track your hours just like any other job. They pay you for the hours that you are approved to work. And then you submit timesheets. It could be just a paper form where you keep track or the schedule. And then Benefits may vary and are not guaranteed. So they may provide health care, time off, sick time, but it's not guaranteed and it's not required. And then payments are usually, it depends on the company you're working for, the state you live in, and the area you live in. But it will be above minimum wage. And I will say that the in-home care company may be a little more competitive pay, higher pay maybe. There's no minimum. It's just the state's minimum wage or area's minimum wage. And then benefits beyond pay, additional supports for caregivers. So this is flexible scheduling within the approved care plan. Training, gain caregiving training. Support from the care team, helping caregivers navigate challenges. Increased family stability. Stay at home with loved ones and a sense of purpose. Make a meaningful impact in your family and community through caregiving. So the benefits are, a flexible schedule. You might be able to have a caregiver come in all day and then you come in and do the dinner shift. Or you may need to work a weekend. Training. You're going to gain training and experience. And, it's another job you could work in the future. And then support care team. Whoever is your employer, you can contact them for training, for help, for anything you need. And then you're keeping a loved one at home. And that's where they want to be. And if you have that available option and you can do that through this program, you're keeping a relative at home. You're keeping an elder with their family. And then sense of purpose. You're caring for someone you know or love, a friend or family member. And another thing I would say is you're also kind of in a way creating a job. You're doing a job and getting paid for, and sometimes in places where there aren't that many jobs. And then frequently asked questions. So, can I care for someone not living with me? Yes, if the care plan is followed. You can care for someone living in their home, they can live in your home, or they can live in their family member's home. What if conditions changes and HCBS was denied before? Contact the care coordinator to reassess. So condition changes. That can be the condition worsens and more care is needed. Or it could be a family member's death, maybe, or divorce. Maybe they lose their husband and they were denied before and now they could qualify. And then, is there a limited on paid hours? Yes, it's set by the care plan. So when you apply, they assess your needs and determine how many hours they're willing to pay for. And that's how many hours they're going to pay for you. If you think you need more, you can always call them and tell them you want to be reassessed. And then, can I take time off to get coverage? Yes, with advanced planning. So if you ever need time off or sick time, you can always call them and you can get some time off. Do I need medical experience? No, training is provided. You do not need prior experience. They will train you, and you can always call them and say, hey, I have a question. And then, do I need to quit my current job to take care of a loved one? No, the schedule is flexible. You can continue to work part-time or arrange for another caregiver to provide the care. So actually I was asked this question. Um, a family member bravely asked me, I'm working. I don't know if I can afford to take care of my mom and pay my bills. And I said, well, you can keep your job. You can have a separate caregiver come in and take care of your family member. And you can pick up part-time. You can do the dinner shift. You can do the weekend shift if you want. And but most of the time, family members are also doing the night shift, kind of. And hopefully that goes smoothly. And so, resources, here's resources. So this is the Medicaid program. And then if you were denied through Medicaid or this program, you can contact the program below. So the New Mexico Medicaid program, if you're denied Medicaid or you're denied home and community-based services, which is a program we've been speaking about, then you can apply for Aging and Disability Resource Center. And here's their contact information. They have similar programs. And then in Arizona, you can apply for Medicaid through Access and then ask to talk to Altex and apply for this program, which is Home and Community-Based Service Program for in-home caregiving. And if you're denied for either program, then you can contact the Arizona County Area on Agency of Aging, and they can assist you with support for caregivers, aging services, and benefits. So you may not be able to find a similar program through them. Because in New Mexico, they have the New Mexicare, which is a very similar program. But in Arizona, they don't have a program that's exactly similar, but they have ones that are will help with other benefits. And on June 28th, there's going to be a caregiver summit in Albuquerque, and you can join fellow caregivers for a day of resources, workshops, and community. And it's by the New Mexico Caregiver Coalition. And here's their phone number and website. They provide different resources and trainings and support groups. I would say get a notebook or paper and write down who you call, what they say. And then ask them, well, what other resources are there? Can you refer me to? And then write those down. And so you know who you called, when, what they said. And then look online for other programs. Like there's this New Mexico Caregiver Coalition, other caregiver programs that assist the caregiver in different resources, training, support. And then please fill out the post survey. So link will be in the chat. Click the link in the chat to complete the post survey. It's very short, just a few questions, just to see if you have more knowledge than before on this subject. And then please contact for more information the Native American Disability Law Center. We have a Farmington, New Mexico office and a Flagstaff, Arizona office. And we are toll-free phone number. We also have a website and an email. And then you may contact the Native American Disability Law Center. A staff member will interview you to determine your eligibility for services and assess whether your legal issue falls within the law center's assistance scope. So when you contact us, we have an application process, an intake, and we see if your issue is in the scope of our assistance. And if it is not, we will contact you and refer you to someone who can give you a resource. And so we have a toll-free number here. It's 800-862-7271. And you can contact us and leave a message or talk with the person, and we will get your contact information and the reason you're calling, and we will give it to our team and see if your legal issue falls within the law center's assistance scope. And we will contact you, and then we will do an application or intake process and see if we can assist you. If not, we can always refer you to a resource. If we can't help you, we can put you in contact with someone who can help you. Okay. And please fill in the chat with any questions, or you can always contact us by phone. Is the fastest, or online. We have an application for intake also. And if you have any questions, concerns, or help with this process, we can give you some assistance on what to do next or some resources. So you can always contact us. Thank you.